The movie of the Last Supper slowly opens up as we see Jesus teaching a multitude about God the Father, letting them know they are the light of the world as they are the children of the Father in heaven. After he's done preaching, a mother along with her child comes begging. She has never had her son speak as she wants him to speak. Jesus touches his mouth and ears, silently saying some prayers. Instantly, the little boy calls his mom, leaving her speechless. The crowd praises him as he tells the woman to sing praises of the Lord's goodness. However, Peter comes to Jesus, letting him know the people are faint with hunger. Though Jesus says it's time to feed them, although Judas comes telling him no one is going to freely give bread to those who cannot pay, but Jesus turns asking John what's available, though John tells him a boy willingly gives his 2 fishes and 5 loaves, although Judas says it's a kind act, but obviously not a solution. But Jesus replies him saying faith should be their wealth as he proceeds to lift the 2 fishes and 5 loaves up as his divine power impresses the crowd. Jesus feeds a multitude. Even the religious authorities were witnesses to this miracle. After the meal, Simon Peter seems worried about Judas being the sharpest among them all as his inner struggle disturbs him countlessly, but still loves him as a brother. However, Judas cuts in as he introduces some men from Cyprus who comes in search of a head to stand against Romans' rule. Claim they have heard about him, but today they have witnessed with their eyes, stating there's no doubt he can move a crowd. Jesus taught about what he said as he tells them his presence awakens their souls, though the Cyprus tries to be convincing enough, yet Jesus refuses, saying he's the bread of life, just as the Father sent him, confusing the Cyprus. Just after they leave, Judas questions Jesus why he didn't act, but Jesus replies his kingdom is not of this world, leaving Judas speechless as he chases after those men. 1 year later, we see Caiaphas washing his hands as he asks the Lord to grant him insight to uphold this law, but just as he's doing that, he hears the crowd chanting Hosanna to the King Jesus as he sees it's Jesus on a donkey passing by, assembly his fellow religious authorities. As they say he can perform miracles, proceeding to tell them he claims he's the Messiah with his own lips, drawing Caiaphas' attention. But Caiaphas tells them it's only a wise person that can say such, even with the consequences, as he proceeds to say, if it's a lie, his supporters won't trust him anymore. In the meantime, Jesus arrives at the Temple of Jerusalem, where people welcomes him with open hearts, but he notices the Lord house is now a place of thievery rather than a place of prayer. Though Peter saw the authorities are around telling his master, yet Jesus looks troubled with what he's seeing. However, Jesus began turning the tables of the money changers, confusing the crowd. But as Judas saw Caiaphas along with his servant Malchus was coming to their direction, he flees off, yet Caiaphas warns them the crowd's favor is fleeting before they leave. This bold act further cements the courage of the authority to stop him, but Caiaphas decides to strike when Passover approaches, saying he needs someone who knows his every move, though Malchus happens to know just the one. Meanwhile, Peter and John runs to Jesus asking what's next, but Jesus tells them to go prepare a place for the Passover dinner while he'll join them later. They obeyed as command, as they go to a neighboring house who welcomes the friends of Jesus with open hearts, taking them to the upper room, though Peter feels it isn't safe enough, demanding for a ladder because he feels Caiaphas might follow them. In the meantime, we see Judas, who struggles with inner doubts and the voice of Satan. In a way, Caiaphas comes in with Malchus, waking him from sleep, placing a deal to tell him Jesus' location for money. Yet even after trying, Judas refuses, though Caiaphas gives him a second chance if he changes his mind, although Judas was terribly tempted. Judas kept hearing the voice of Satan but tries to overcome it, as he arrives at the Passover dinner at the same time with Jesus. However, before the feast was about to begin, he sends some little children to get some water. Though they all looked confused, Jesus began to wash Peter's feet. Just as he was doing so, Judas by the fire sees Satan in form of a snake, convincing him that Jesus' path leads to nowhere, that he should save himself before Peter asks him if as well. Just then, Jesus calls Judas. Even after Jesus knows is up to no good, he went ahead to wash his feet, yet tells him that there are some stains that water alone cannot wash. Jesus proceeds to explain what he just performed as they feast, saying it's a symbol of love that they should express it to each other. While eating, Jesus had a glimpse of how he will be nailed and crowned with thorns, saying they should eat his body in form of bread and drink his blood in form of wine in memory of him. Jesus proceeds to say the one who dips his hand in the same dish with him is the one that will betray him, weeping at the same time. Jesus happens to show it when he dipped his hand in Judas's dish, yet the disciples doesn't seem to realize. Just then Judas stood up in guilt, though the disciples didn't think anything suspicious as they assume his praying. After the meal, when Jesus and Peter was alone, Jesus told him Satan has come to test their faith to see who will fall or stand strong, but Jesus says he has prayed for him not to lose faith, saying when he turns back, he should strengthen the rest. In the other hand, Judas couldn't hold himself no longer as he goes back to Caiaphas, trading Jesus' location with 30 pieces of silver. Sometimes later, Jesus tells his disciples he has to be alone when they get to a place, but Peter refuses, saying he can lay his life for him. But as he says that, Jesus tells Peter he will deny him 3 times before the cock crow, leaving it impossible for Peter to believe. Outside, Jesus leaves the disciples at a spot while he goes to pray. When he was praying, he weeps, begging the Father to take this cup of affliction away from him, as he knows what's right in front of him, yet not what he wills, but what the Lord wills. Returning back to the disciples feeling disappointed, they can't stay up for an hour to watch over him while he prayed. Just then, there comes Judas along with Caiaphas' army. Judas walks in alone, though Jesus knew it's his hour to betray him, as Judas betrays Jesus with a kiss. Having known this, Peter and the rest tries to protect Jesus, as they now know the traitor among them. While combating, Peter pulls out a sword and cuts off one of the army's ear, attempting to kill him next, but Jesus stops them as he agrees to surrender. In a way, he heals the soldier's ear before they take him away. Later, Peter disguised himself to know where they are taking Jesus. A woman happens to recognize Peter as one of Jesus' followers, but Peter denies. For no reason, they began torturing him until the religious councils comes out. Caiaphas claims his teaching is creating a great confusion among the people. But Jesus responded he has taught in open places without any secrets, though a member agrees to that. But the Pharisees reminds them he turned merchant tables, stirring anger of many. Caiaphas proceeds to ask him if he's the Messiah, but Jesus replies if he said, yes, he won't believe him. Then Caiaphas asks him again if he's the Son of God, although this time he replies saying he is the Son of God, which the region's council wouldn't believe, taking it as a blasphemy. At the same time, a lady claims to know Peter as one of his followers, but he denies again as he follows Jesus secretly. The crowd chants changes as they shout, "Crucify him," followed by the countless torture. Meanwhile, another lady loudly alerts people Peter is one of the followers of Jesus, saying he's meant to join the blasphemer. Yet again, he denies, falling to the ground. But as he falls, his eyes and Jesus' eyes meets. Just then, Peter remembers Jesus' words that he would deny him 3 times. To Judas, he couldn't hold the guilt any longer as he sees Satan's real figure proceeding to take his life. On the other hand, Peter cries so deeply as he realizes what he has just done, though, as he sees Judas hanged up. A voice tells him to do the same, but he remembers Jesus' words again, resisting the temptation. In the morning, Peter runs in search of his colleagues, as he sees them cold, silent as never before, as John explained he was crucified, leading to his death. In the morning, Pharisees comes in, telling Caiaphas Jesus' body has disappeared all of a sudden. Just then, Mary, the mother of Jesus, Mary Magdalene, and Salome runs to Jesus' tomb to see Jesus. At the same time, the disciples were fishing but happens to find no fish at the shore. All of a sudden, they had a voice telling them to cast their net on the right side of the shore. At that moment, Peter recognizes the voice, running with gladness in his heart, asking for forgiveness. Jesus prepares a dinner beside the shore, where he makes Peter a fisher of men, preaching to the word of God to the people. I'm guessing you enjoyed the movie. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more on this channel. Stay tuned.